Hey there, Greg here with Hoss Tools. We're going to talk about one of our most popular products today, the Hoss Fertilizer Injector, and for good reason. It is a very efficient way to get fertilizer to your plants. We're going to do an unboxing and assembly, show you how to use it, how to set it up, and at the end of the video we'll give you some tips and tricks on how to best use it. It ships in this nice box right here, which is very big, and let's open it up and see what we got inside. First of all, we got our instructions. And then, nicely packed inside is the tank. Now the tank is a Schedule 40 PVC tank. What's great about this tank here is you can leave it under constant pressure. It's very thick and it's very durable. Of course, it's got the nice Hoss logo on it right there. So we've got the cap is already installed. Let's dig in here and see what else we can find. Down at the bottom of the box, we have the packages with all the other things we need to get this up and going. We have, in this little bag, we've got the flow disc washers. Also, we've got the cutoff valves for the little hose here. And here we have the brass part that goes in line, the water hose fittings on each side that we hook all this up. So let's take a look how it goes together. So here's all the components you should have with your injector. You got the tank and the cap, two of the cutoff valves, brass hose bib, two pieces of tubing, one clear and one black, and the three flow jets, or excuse me, flow disc. Okay, on your cap you have the in and the out right here. And what you want to do is you want to connect the black one to the in and the clear one to the out. And the reason for that is we can see the product going out through the clear hose. Also on the top you have these settings here where they'll be fast, or you can move it back right here. And this measures how much the outgoing is. You can go from slow to 1, 2, and fast. To connect your hose to the injector here, and you have a good bit of hose that comes with this thing, you can trim some of it back. I think it's probably 3 to 4 foot of hose if you like. The way you install the hose into the cap is you take it and you just push it through there, and it's got little metal barbs in there, and you just kind of tug it back and it seats itself. So we got the black hose going in, and we're going to take the clear hose and go out. Same thing, just kind of push it in. When you push it in, just kind of pull it back and it seats itself. So there we have the hoses attached to the cap. The next thing we would do is hook to the hose bib. You can see there the flow, the way the water should flow. Okay, so we've got the hose bib, but we're going to connect the tubing to the hose bib. This one, which is the blue one, hooks to the front, and that is the one closest to the one that goes onto the water hose right there. We would call that the female fitting. So we take this one, hook it there, and this is a barb fitting, so you simply just kind of push it on there and work it down. It's a little tight, that's the way it should be. All right, got it nice seated on there well. And then we would take the clear hose and put it on the one closest to the male fittings. Kind of wiggle it a little bit, it leaves on there. So now that we have these connected, we have these cutoff valves. Now these cutoff valves, you can put anywhere you want to in this tubing. Here again, it's got the barb fittings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the line and install. Each line will have its own shutoff valve. Push them on there good so that the barbs connect well, seals it off. All right, so now we have the hose bill, the tubing connected to the cap and the tank. All right, the next thing is to figure out how much flow that you have and if you need to use flow discs. Now the 3 ways that you can use this injector is with the just straight hose wand. So if you're hand watering containers or maybe some raised beds and you're just using a hose wand and you hook this directly up to your water spigot, then you probably are not going to need any of the flow disc and you can set it on the fast setting. Another way you can use it is with a sprinkler, an overhead sprinkler. So if you're using an overhead sprinkler, you simply hook this up to the water spigot as well, and you're not going to use a flow disc, and it's going to go to a water sprinkler or maybe 2 water sprinklers, and you can put fertilizer through your overhead irrigation. My favorite way of using this injector is with drip tape because I think that is the most efficient way to water and to get fertilizer out to your plants. Now, if you start doing drip tapes or you start doing emitters, then you're going to have to do a little math to figure out if you need one of these flow discs right here. We have 3 different flow discs. We have white, black, and red. So you're going to have to do a little math. And the red flow disc is the smallest one. It has the smallest little hole in there. So if you're putting out 30 to 7.5, or let me back up. If you're putting out 7.5 to 30 gallons per minute through the injector, you will need to use this flow disc. And I'll show you in a minute how we install these. If you're using 60, or let me back up again, 30 to 60 gallons per minute, you'll need to use the black. And if you're running from 60 to 120, you'll need to use the white. If you're running above 120 gallons per minute, you will not need any of the flow disc. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example how you would figure this up using the emitters or the drip tape. Let's just say for granted that you're using 100 foot of drip tape. Our drip tape puts out 0.4 gallons per minute per 100 foot out. So if I take 0.4 gallons per minute and I multiply that by 60, which is 60 minutes an hour, I come up with 24 gallons per hour. There again, I got 100 foot of drip tape out there that I'm watering my garden. What flow disc would I need? At 24 gallons per hour, let's see here, I would need the red. You kind of get what I'm saying? So you kind of figure out how much drip tape, how much water you put through your drip tape or your emitters. Another example of that, if I'm running 10 emitters, which put out 1 gallon per hour, then I would use the red. So you have to figure out how much water you're putting out on the end, whether you're using drip tape or emitters, and then match that to the flow disc. Now to install the flow disc, you simply take this little washer out that's inside there. Sometimes you may have to use a little screwdriver. I won't be able to get that out with my hand today. And you install a flow disc in there, just like you see right there, and then you put your washer back. Now a little tip on this right here is, sometimes these flow discs sit in their seat in there nice, and sometimes they don't. That one there seems to have done well. If not, you can always take you some Vaseline. Probably got some of this around the house somewhere, and you take a little Vaseline and you rub either on the flow disc or either on the inside there, and that will make that flow disc seat in there. It has a tendency sometimes to may wallow around in there, so that's a little tip or a little trick right there. You can use Vaseline on those flow discs to make them seat better. After you get it in there, put your washer back. Push it down in there real good. You can see there. Now there is a space in between the washer and the flow disc there, and that's the reason I like to use the Vaseline if I have any problems with it floating around in there. So we've got the red flow disc in there, ready to set it up. So the way you would set this up if you're doing hand watering or the water sprinkler is simply put it to the water sprinkler and you're good to go. Now, if you're using on drip irrigation, you got to set it up a different way. And I have our filter regulator combo right here to give you an example of how we would set this up. Our filter and our pressure regulator are right here. So we want to be above that with the water flow, and we would want to go in right here. And then we would want to put our water hose or our water supply on this side. So that's the way we would set this up. Now this tank here, you know, you can leave it outside, although I would prefer when I'm not using it to put it in shed, but this tank here is good at the 80 PSI. So you're in pretty good shape on this tank, it being rugged like it is. And the capacity on it is 1 gallon of liquid or 8 pounds of dry material. So you got plenty of capacity here for your fertilizer. This is a very simple piece of equipment. What it does is it just pushes water in, and the water spews out the tank with this charge line right here, and then it picks up this other tube. So it's a very simple piece of equipment, and there's not a whole lot can go wrong with it. The main thing is to make sure that you got the right flow disc in there. If you've got the right flow disc in there and you got it set up right, there's very little that can go wrong with it. Now, a couple of tips and tricks here is, this cap has an O-ring right there. You see that black O-ring? That black O-ring, sometimes if you're out in the field, can slide off and you not know it. That's what actually seals the tank, and it seats down right here on the top of the tank. Now, if you lose that O-ring, then it's not going to be able to pressurize, and you're going to get some leaks, and you're going to hear some air sucking through this tank, and it will cause the fertilizer injector to not work properly. So you also got to make sure that that O-ring is in there. Now, another thing, O-rings can dry out over a period of time. So one thing I like to do is take mineral oil, and now this will work on any sprayer or any O-ring. Put a little bit on your finger there, and what you do is you lubricate that O-ring, and that will help O-ring seal and keep it from drying out so much. So that's a good practice to do there. So you have your washer in there, you have it lubricated, you have the right flow jet in there, you have it set up correctly. Now you're ready to fertilize. To use our fertilizer injector, you have to have water-soluble products to put in here to be able to inject through the water system. And we have 4 that we stock. First one is calcium nitrate. And the calcium nitrate is wonderful for plants, especially in the nightshade family, tomatoes, peppers, and even watermelons and things like that that need a lot of calcium. But you have to make sure that you get a greenhouse grade soluble product. Not all calcium nitrates are soluble. All the ones that we carry are water soluble and greenhouse grade. So you have to be a little careful there with your calcium nitrate. Make sure you get one that will work with the injector. The next one is ammonia sulfate. Same thing. They make it in different grades. You have to have the greenhouse grade for it to be soluble. And this is a great product for onions and garlic, things like that. Now the next one is Chilean nitrate or organic nitrate. It has 2 different trade names to it. Now this is an organic problem that is 15% nitrogen, and it is completely water soluble. Regardless whether you get this product from, it's going to work because there's only one manufacturer and they produce this product, and all of it is water soluble. So this will work fine in your injector as well, and it's an organic. Then we have our all-purpose 20-20-20 that is a water-soluble product also that will work in here. Now, a little tip on this 20-20-20 is, if you're having trouble with it mixing, use hot or very warm water, and it will mix better in with the injector. And then for those micro, secondary, and micronutrients, we have the Micro Boost. Has everything in there you need besides the NPK. So this is a great addition to all those fertilizers I just told you about. And every time that I use the Hoss Fertilizer Injector, injecting fertilizer, I add this micronutrient package to it as well. When you're using your Hoss Fertilizer Injector, you want to make sure after you put your fertilizer in there, you go ahead and fill it up with water. Because if you don't, you're going to have to sit out there and wait for it to fill up with water, because this thing has to be topped off for it to start working properly. And that's a great thing about this clear hose here. Now with our 20-20-20, it is a blue color. So you don't have to worry about adding food coloring, because you'll see the blue flowing through there. But if you're using some of these other products that create a clear liquid, add you some food coloring in there, and you can tell when it starts flowing through your tubing. Another thing, when you're using the flow disc, you want to pre-dilute your product that you're putting in there 3 parts water to 1 part product, and that's basically 3 to 1, and that'll help a little bit. Now another thing is this right here. This is a backflow preventer, and this goes on your water spigot. Now this does not come with our Hoss Fertilizer Injector, but we sell these in addition. You can add them to this when you purchase it, or you can pick one of these up at just about any plumbing supply house. This is a very inexpensive product right here, and what this does, it's a great insurance policy. So if you have some kind of power failure or anything like that when you're watering and it causes the water supply to back siphon, this will keep your well or your water supply from being contaminated with what you got in your tank. So it stops the water from going backwards. You normally don't have that problem unless you have some type of power failure or something like that when you're watering, but it definitely can happen. So we always recommend that you put a backflow preventer on your water spigot for your water source. A lot of people get confused about how much product to put in the Hoss Fertilizer Injector. And this can be hard to figure out. You're gonna have to do some playing around, a little figuring to know exactly how much you want to put in here. Now the typical coverage rate is 1 pound per 1,000 square feet. So it's really subjective to how much water you're putting through, how many emitters, how big of an area are you irrigating, how much drip tape and all that, what type of soils you have, how much product you're trying to push out at one time, and then the crop. I mean, some crops like more fertilizer than others. So there's several different factors there that you're gonna have to figure out exactly how much you want to put in here. All right, folks, hope that helped a little bit. I think this is a great way for you to fertilize your garden. The Hoss Fertilizer Injector, all these products here, you can get the fertilizer to the crop right when it needs it, and you really don't waste any. So I hope this helps you to be more successful growing your own food. Now get out there and get dirty.